Hello and welcome to the University of Tennessee's Vested for Success video tutorial series. I'm Kate Vitasic, the university's lead faculty and researcher behind our Vested programs for highly collaborative and successful business relationships. So today's tip is really the benefits of transparency using poker as an analogy. So I have brought today some cards, just some simple playing cards, and I'm going to pretend that we have a buyer playing against the supplier. And so think about that in the negotiations that we typically have. The buyer and the supplier are sitting on the opposite side of the table, and it's almost like they're playing poker when they're negotiating. We want to hold back, we don't want to share, we don't want to be transparent. And what I want to argue today is that transparency is an amazing thing that can actually create much more value when you are willing to share. So let's pretend that instead of sitting across the table, we're actually sitting on the same side of the table. That's right, your supplier isn't necessarily someone you want to negotiate against. It's someone who you want on your team that can help you solve your business problems. I often use the analogy of playing tug of war, right? So when we have tug of war, we have across the table and we're like tugging back and forth. But when we put the buyer and the supplier on the same side of the table and we pull together, we can tug against our problem. So now let's start by looking at the playing cards for the buyer. So if y'all see, I've turned this around. I really don't have a very good hand at all. It's a mismatch of a bunch of cards that just add up to junk. So this would be a losing hand. Now let's look at my supplier, right? And so let's look at their hand. They also have a losing hand. So definitely not getting the most that they can out of this poker game. But what happens when the buyer and the supplier are on the same side of the rope? You put the cards together. Now look, I have an 8 of hearts, I have a 7 of hearts, I have a king of hearts, and I have a queen of hearts, as well as a 4 of hearts. So in essence, I have a flush. And so absolutely amazing. So I've taken nothing and created something. I've created value by sharing my cards with my supplier. And that's what I want you to do as a buyer and supplier. Think about it. How transparent can you be and what can you get with that transparency? So rather than holding back, let's pull together and actually create value with our business partner. So that is my tip of today, the benefits of transparency using poker as an analogy. And if you have any questions, please don't, please just reach out. You can reach us at vestedfaculty@utk.edu.